Hello, everybody. I am Arlisha from Arlisha's Meanderings. Welcome to our BookTube channel. Actually,
Well,
it's my
your
BookTube channel.
BookTube channel. My name is Talia. I am from the channel Talia Nerds Out.
And the reason I'm having trouble is because when we're sitting together like this, it's usually for PHN. So
We have done it for your channel as well, though. But even then, actually, every time we've done it for your channel, we still have to think about it. And I have a total of 3 channels, so I can never remember which one I'm introducing myself on.
right.
So that ends up being a problem too.
Before we get started on this, we have a message for Andrew.
Yes.
He tagged us on the banned books,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure. I think I was tagged by somebody else as well.
You were. I'm just bringing this a little bit closer.
But we wanted to let those people know that we are going to do that. It requires a little more research for us, so we are going to do that a little bit later. We are, promise Andrew, we are going to do it. Okay.
Yeah, we're very
we're excited about
yes,
that.
we are. We're planning to do it next week.
Yeah, God willing, we'll do it next week. But in the meantime, we want to do this one, which is about AI and reading and writing. So
this isn't so much a tag as it is a conversation.
Yeah, although if people want to jump in,
if you want to jump in on the conversation, absolutely. But it's not a tag in the traditional, like, here's some questions, tag other people. This is a very much of a conversation.
Right. So we may say things that you don't agree with, so be kind. Okay.
But this stems from a Jared Henderson video.
My dad saw this.
Not your dad. My dad.
Her dad, my husband. I think my husband would get quite annoyed if I called him my dad. My husband saw this video and he forwarded it to us and said we should do something on it. So,
and the funny thing is, he and I know I sent this particular creator to him at least once or twice, but we kind of have come at him semi-independently. I've watched Jared on and off for a while. I can't remember I think Dad and I have both sent you videos.
I have watched them. I'm sure I've watched at least one.
And then eventually you did end up subscribing as well. So we are, all 3 of us, subscribed to his channel.
But my husband, I don't want to say my dad. My husband really thought that we should do something on this because it's talking about AI's effect on reading and writing in different areas. So we're not just talking about books, although we will talk about books. We'll also touch on other areas. Okay?
Because the first time we became aware of it was something for NaNoWriMo.
Right. And I will have Jared's, the link to this video in the description box. Okay.
Also, I want to bring up the very first time I became aware of some of the AI stuff. This is very early on for ChatGPT. It was in one of the Discord groups I was in, and I can't remember which one, but people were playing around with creating stories with them, like little short things, and they said, oh, hey, look, it won't let you create a story with Sauron as the hero, so it's not letting you but if you say write a ballad by Sauron, where he is the hero, it would do that. And that was my earliest. I think I actually saved the thing that the AI wrote. Right. And I thought he was funny at the time, but I hadn't really thought too much. I mean, I thought briefly, like, this could be a problem, but I really didn't think about it terribly much at the time.
Well, let me start off at the top by saying I'm not a fan of AI. Okay, I don't like AI and creativity. The only thing I use it for are my thumbnails and for the little tins I make for tea over at a place called Adagio. And if you're really interested in that tea site, I'll put it in the description box below the video.
And I use it for my intro music, which is backed by popular demand.
Yeah, I don't like AI, and that's probably maybe a quasi unpopular stance, but
I actually don't think it is not in the reading sphere.
But Jared starts off with talking about the effect on books, and what he did was he talked to an author. I think his name was Seth Harper, I think it was. It's in the book. It's in his
video.
And it's in his video if it's not in mine. And apparently what happened was he wrote a book. He researched it for 2 years. He wrote the book, put it up on Amazon. It's in the bestseller list, from what I understand. And very shortly afterwards, there was just this influx of books that were very similar to his, with very similar covers, many of which had his name on it in some way, shape, or form, either saying they were based on his books or they were in what did they say? What was that word they used? Again with a C.
Oh,
In connection
in
with.
connection with or
Whatever.
conjunction with or
Yeah,
something like
conjunction.
that.
And Jared was like, I don't even know what that means.
There were faux biographies that popped up about him, the
Yeah.
real story behind. Now, I actually went and I searched on my own. I went to the bestsellers list for now, and it took me to Barnes & Noble. Perfect. Took the 2 top books that I immediately saw, and I did my own search.
Mhm.
So the first one was for, let me go back. The first one that I searched was for, okay, there it is. It was for Under Siege by Eric Trump. The first one was by Eric Trump. The second one was by Damian Hamilton, and it came out a couple days after the Eric Trump book. But there's only one. Okay, so I went and searched another one because, maybe I didn't think the market would be that big for it. So I searched for, I think this was like 3 or 4 on the list, Eli Sharabi's, so it's Hostage by Eli Sharabi. Okay. Second choice, Eli Sharabi's Abduction Story, Deep and Unfiltered Account of a Journalist, blah, 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 by Dalton Jackie. Released a couple days after. Now, there's only 2 for that one. The one that actually had a lot was, the original title was How to Test Negative for Stupid and Why Washington Never Will by John Kennedy. Within days, you had Washington Politics and How to Test Negative for Stupid. You had How Not to Test Positive for Stupid. You had, let's see, I don't think this one is related. John Kennedy's Stupidity Test for Washington. So, and these were only a few of the ones that I saw, and they were all October 2025, a little bit after Kennedy's actual book.
They're watching to see if it's going to be profitable. And the thing is that...
And they're also trying to scam people into making them think that they are getting the book that they were recommended.
The thing is that... so you derailed me.
I apologize.
The covers look a lot alike, and the content is very much alike. And Jared, at the time of the recording, was saying 47 books on this man's book about I think it was drugs and the special forces or something.
It was about cartel, yeah.
In
Fort Bragg cartel.
Yeah, and so
that's not the exact title. So if you search it, you might not get the actual author's work. Check Jared Henderson's video to get the actual author's work if that's a topic you're interested in.
And it makes me wonder, when we got our Pope books, the ones that came out so fast,
Well, if you think about it, they didn't come to us for a long time.
That's true. And that only means that it could have been sold out.
Well, what I noticed...
I mean, they were pre-orders.
They were pre-orders. And we recognized the authors' names.
Yes, but you can recognize this author's names too. Is that they put the authors on there, and he mentioned one guy. I forget, it was 2 authors that had written something, and the AI, one of the copies that it did was it took the 2 names and made it the first and last name.
Now, one of the things that I did notice, and I'm going to bring up one of them for the How to Test Negative. So, what I noticed that they used the same. The first faux book that I noticed for the Trump book and the first one for the Kennedy book were the same.
That's what, yeah.
Put up with the same people. So, if I pulled up How to Test Negative for Stupid, and actually, it looks like they've lost a couple. Oh, here it is. I was going to say, it looks like they lost a couple, but no, here we go. It was put out, it'd be like 42 pages. Where the full book would be like 200.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And they would be put out by Lulu.com, both of them. So what I'm interested in is if all of them are put out by Lulu, or if...
I bet they're a little more strategic than that, because people are using the AI, but they're also putting them out there, so they would, maybe not do the same.
Well, it might be also multiple people doing it. So, no, this one just says independently published. Let's see. Oh, here's another one that I didn't see. How to Outsmart Washington's Idiots. I think that one's new.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that one, I don't think, last time. But I did think it was interesting that the same place, Lulu.com, both jumped on both of the two top bestsellers when I checked the Barnes & Noble, the Trump one and the Kennedy one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, ooh, let's put out a quick 42-page thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
But you get into things here like the ethics of the intellectual property. There's plagiarism involved, or maybe quasi-plagiarism, depending on how much, because the author was talking about how his whole general themes and stuff were taken. You know, the stuff that surrounded his book was brought into these other books.
Well, I've heard it actually discussed as well, like when you're creating these AI books, even say you put in, and this is actually what happens with music as well. If you go to the apps for music or the sites to create AI music, what they'll ask you for is, what style do you want? What general topic do you want? Give us a few keywords. And then they create something off of that. And you can even say male or female voice.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I want a medieval style song with maybe I want flutes in there, and I want to talk about books and reading at a book hall, and I just can't stop buying books. These are some of the things I actually put in when I was trying to do my song, although I didn't end up going with the medieval theme. Now, what'll happen is it pulls from a database of all the songs that exist, and it goes like, okay, we're going to imitate this style, and it pulls from different places. Now, if you really pay attention, you can catch eventually what AI kind of sounds like, but especially if you've made enough songs that way. But the point is that there is a level of there's a level of poaching, but then you question, okay, well, that's what an actual author does. They take inspiration, but where does it become intellectual theft, and where does it become just getting inspired by? Now, and I will let you, I know you, I wanted to bring up one other concern with what I had heard people discuss about books in particular, is that you are taking, let's do the style of this author. So I'm going to write a Stephen King-esque book with X type of characters and a title that sounds Stephen King. And you can plug in all your things where you're basically creating a faux Stephen King book.
And Stephen King doesn't get the residuals. So that there's that, and then there's the whole idea that they're not taking, from what I'm hearing, they're not taking from things that are public domain.
No.
They're taking from things that can make money for the author.
Things are out in the ether.
So this person worked 2 years or 3 years to make this book. They did all the traveling, they did all the research, they put it all together, all on their own. They got it published, and then this AI comes along and knocks off whatever amount of books, and they sell it for less.
Well, and the thing is, like, they might not even have access to his book. They might have just said, oh, this is a bestseller. Here's the title. Here's the general theme. Well, and write something about that.
Well, nobody's saying that they're targeting authors. All I'm saying is that they are using these bestsellers.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's to me, that's you have, no one has the right to take a tithe, if you will, or take a tax, if you will, off somebody else's writing.
Well, because what's bad about it is a true scam. They aren't just like trying to get inspiration from, they're trying to scam people into thinking that they're buying the actual book. That they're like, someone said, hey, this Kennedy book was really cool, I think you should check it out. And say the person doesn't remember the title quite. They say, I know it had something to do with Kennedy, and I know it had to do with like not being dumb or something. And so someone's going to look for like not being dumb Kennedy. And so they'll have all these options, and they might not remember what the correct one was.
Right. And it's hard enough when you can't remember a book or a title, and you say, okay, you can go by the author. And you go by the author, and then you have all these things come up, and you don't even know if it's the author because the author's name is in there. And then in the fine print somewhere, it might say, whatever the actual writer is or not. I don't know if they have AI generated anywhere on the cover. If they don't, they should. That it's an AI book, not the author book. I find it very disingenuous to do that.
Well, I know that I was searching for books on migraines because I wanted to understand better, and I knew that Dr. Oliver Sacks's book was a little bit out of date. You know, it's been a while. I think he wrote it in the 1990s, late 1990s. And so I did a search, and when I saw one that it looked so good, and I was like, man, I'm really interested in this one. I dug more into it because I like to make sure that I'm going into a, reputable source if I'm going to be, dropping money on it. And it was written by AI. And I'm like, whoa there, because I don't know how accurate it is, because AI could be pulling from Wikipedia. It could be pulling, I don't know where it's pulling from and how accurate that information is.
And a lot of times the AI doesn't use all the sources a lot of times.
Well, if it does use all the sources, you can have sources that say completely opposite different things. So
yes,
that means that it has conflicting information. So it can be a mumbo jumbo, like you don't know what you're going to get.
For example, I was checking on something, okay? And when I did it with the full verbiage, and you don't really need to know what it is, not important. Let's just say I was looking at, just whatever.
Actually, let's use the first time we did it.
No, because I don't know if that was what I was using, and I don't know if it's going to support my argument. So anyway, I put in the request, and I said, oh no, we don't find anything. So I broke it down into parts. And when I broke it down into parts, I found both. And not only did I find both, they were opposites.
Now, what happened for me, and this was my first, I already didn't like I already had a sort of bad feeling about AI. But we saw a video where it claimed that there was this meeting between Princess Catherine, Catherine the Princess of Wales, and
the Holy Father,
the new Holy Father, Pope Leo. And they made it sound this dramatic thing, and she's like, I don't know, let's check into it. It sounds kind of odd. The only source I see is this video. I don't see any articles. This is really odd. There would be some sort of article that doesn't reference the video that is reputable, that would say this happened. If none of them say it happened, it probably didn't.
And the oddest thing about that was is if you kept going further for that, you would see Princess Catherine with Pope Francis or with Pope Pius XII. She wasn't, I don't think she was alive with Pope Pius XII.
Well, the thing that I found interesting is I did a search, and I would try several different ways I would either say just Catherine Princess of Wales and the Pope, or I'd say Pope Leo. I searched several different ways. I also said, I might even say Kate Middleton at one point. So I did several different searches. There was at least one time where they're like, this is, and actually said, is this a hoax? That's what,
yes.
And they said, this isn't real because, for some places said, yes, this is true. This happened.
Yes.
The AI search. Then I would search a couple of minutes later and go like, no, this isn't true. There is no Pope Leo. And I'm like, really?
Gee, about that.
And then I do another search again, and then all of a sudden there's a Pope Leo again.
Yeah.
So it's like, it depends on what it's pulling from.
I think that with the reading, there's a lack of transparency. You don't know who's writing the material. You don't know who you're supporting. I mean, maybe there are certain authors you may not want to give your money to. I know there's a couple that I don't want to give my money to.
Well, and also you don't know your sources within.
Well, that's for a nonfiction book. But
and that's true. I think nonfiction in general, because that's a lot of what I write.
I'm talking about in
general. I let it read, excuse me.
And there's no accountability. You don't know who to contact if a fact is wrong or something.
Well, and also, okay, we already have enough trouble knowing what's real when there's these AI videos that go out, and there's these different AI things that just pop up. You can make it seem like someone said something or did something that didn't do. So it's like, we don't need to have AI articles, AI books that make us question reality even more. Not everyone, unfortunately, has cultivated critical thinking skills. And so they might go, oh, it's in print, so this is real. And I've seen people who think if something's in print, it's real.
But they might not know where to go. Even if they do, they might not know where to go
And
to
that's
find
true.
things.
But I do think that there is... I have heard people believe that if something's published in a book, that means it's real. And that's absolutely 100% not true. That people can write a bunch of lies and publish it. Or it could be AI and, just...
And who's programming the AI to do its searches and things like that? And I know that sounds conspiracy.
Well, and some of it could be, here's who's programming, or in this case of the Pope Leo thing, where, well, you just happened to catch it on the day where it decided there was no Pope Leo today.
Mm-hmm.
Or a minute where it decided there was no Pope Leo. Or it just happened to pull from that random source that decided that Pope Leo wasn't a thing.
I mean, and if writing and reading aside, okay, we'll put that on the back burner because I'd like to at least end with writing and reading.
Yeah.
He went further into some of the, it's bad enough that readers get hoodwinked and writers maybe get gypped of their livelihood in some way, shape, or form. You go into other real life situations that can have more of an impact, more of a dangerous impact. We're talking about law enforcement and legal and medical
and he can cover. He did a lot of research when it came to the police, and so I don't know how much we should dip into that.
No, I'm just saying. I'm using the fact that I'm going to touch on it because he does it in the video. If you want to go back to it, he's talking about the cops not doing their own reports because it takes too much time and they need to be doing police work. I get that, but even human beings have faulty, remembrances. And if you show a video, maybe you don't get, if you have the AI do something, they don't get the right angle or whatever, they're not going to write up an accurate report.
Well, even think of the AI-generated subtitles. How many times have they gotten your name wrong?
Yeah.
Like, you've been Marlisha, you've been...
I've been
Marlisa.
I've been Marsha.
Yeah, that's right. You've been Marsha.
Which
now,
is really odd.
They'll usually just spell if we enunciate well enough, it'll just be different. The actual, normal spelling of my name.
I can enunciate my name. It doesn't matter.
No, because my name is one that actually an AI can search and see. Oh, there is a, it's out in the zeitgeist. Well, not zeitgeist. I keep saying that, but it's out there in the ether. But, so AI can create a faulty report if it's then just go off the video because maybe it isn't enunciated enough. And actually, I've seen this in body cam videos where you'll see it must have been an AI that generated the subtitles because it's like, that's not what he said.
Yeah.
That's not what occurred.
Well, you get, okay, we have had things, we like to do Saint of the Day or whatever. And there are Saints of the Day stories, little 2-minute, 3-minute stories, and you're listening to this story. And 1 minute they're calling the saint he.
Yeah.
And the next minute they're calling her she.
Yeah.
And, he's either he or she. He's not both. And so it's just, that's an AI generated. And
that's usually the most telltale one.
Yeah. They aren't as, they're getting better.
They aren't quite as, they're getting harder to catch.
But they still have an odd feel to them. They don't feel quite human. I don't want to listen to AI. I want to listen to people.
I don't trust AI simply because I can't double check their sources. I can't, I know that AI is not pulling from its personal experience because it's a computer. So I don't have a journalist who's gathering sources and then taking his experience as a journalist to sift through the information and then build a cohesive picture. Whether or not I agree with the picture he builds, it's still going to be one that it comes from a human experience and the facts involved. And of course, you can have other conversations that I've had before about how much of the journalist should be involved, but still the journalist has to be able to parse the information and interpret it enough to be able to present those facts. But if you just have a machine gathering things, it isn't capable necessarily of determining what's more important or less important, or what's more true, what might be inaccurate. It's
or great. Yeah, because he touches
Jared
touches on the falsities and the trouble that can cause, especially in law enforcement with maybe having the officer accidentally perjure himself
Mm-hmm.
because the AI said something or didn't say something, or setting false arrest.
Now, in a perfect world, you'd say you have the AI generated, and then the officer would read it over. But honestly, just write the report, because what if you're tired and you miss something? Or I can see where the temptation would be, but I even think it's something as simple as you can tell. This is before AI even. We used to joke that some of the doctors must have been listening to their patient's heart from the doorway and their lungs from the doorway, because we know they didn't walk inside the room, and they're like, heart, heart sounds good, lungs sounds good, and we're like, did your stethoscope like invisibly stretch across the doorway? Like, we know you didn't move. So it's like that was before AI, where they're basically copying pasting. Are we going to see doctors' reports? Because I don't know if anyone reads their reports after they have an appointment. On my chart, I read all my reports. I read everything that's put out on my chart. And sometimes I'll look and be like, either you copy paste it or something, because that was not a conversation that we had.
Right.
So
yeah, there's that definite potential for accidental or deliberate falsehood. And I know people can do it too, but if you're...
And that's why I did bring up the example of the doctors, because I think that there were doctors who might have been just copy pasting a form. But if you could very easily have a situation I could see where someone might be tempted to have an AI write up something for them, write up a report, write up an email. I've seen things online where someone would be like, this looks like someone had ChatGPT write up this message for them, write up this apology for them,
And so you have the same things that go across all legal. I'm a teacher. I'm hearing things from the teachers about kids coming up with AI generated reports.
The professors are using it to write their papers. So like they're using
their papers.
Okay, so
you mean they're yearly, like, for what?
Okay, so, yeah, that it's perish or publish in the journalistic.
Well, in
not
college,
in college. In college. Yeah. But if you're a university professor, you really, like, how much you publish is how relevant you are, is what I understand. So there will be professors who'll be like spitting out things in order to just keep their name out there. There's a guy who basically, I watched a video on this where he basically just wrote all his articles and related them back to Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And I have no idea how he managed to get these things published. And they would be just like a bundle. They'd be bunk, basically. But because he had all these things published, and thing is, sometimes his articles would be referenced back to. Or he'd have people who didn't know. It was a mess.
I think AI makes it too easy to cheat. And I think, I think that in the long run, our professionals who are being trained in schools or whatever and are using AI are not going to be trained well enough to do their jobs to the peak ability.
Well, also, okay, first of all, it's hard to blame students who, if they see their professors doing it, and actually...
I didn't say I was blaming
No, I'm just going off of the train of thought, because apparently there were students who caught their professors doing AI for stuff. But besides the fact that they're encouraged to do so just because of the example of the professors, but if you aren't learning to critically think and engage with the information that you are learning in the university, how can you be expected to critically think and engage with real life, your job? What you can't AI your life. You can't be like, AI, how do I do X? AI, how do I think? Like,
although according to some of the conversations I've been having with your father, you had people saying, AI, what should I do? And sometimes, should I kill myself? Yes, that is the best way to deal with this.
Well, that's what's... So, I saw there was a thing that was going around the internet where someone basically got the AI to kind of like help her live in her delusion that her therapist was in love with her. And it created this situation like where she went deeper and deeper in her delusion because and I guess like eventually ChatGPT stopped talking to her, so she went to a different AI. I guess ChatGPT she reached a threshold where it's like, okay, this is even ChatGPT was it was a road too far for it. So yeah, there are definite dangers of people not engaging with the world on themselves. And this goes beyond things like just searching on Google. It's one thing to search on Google to verify a term and then have a conversation with someone, because you could do the same thing with a dictionary or with anything else. But with a ChatGPT, if it's always
You're being spoon-fed.
Well, not only are you being spoon-fed, you don't know if what you're being fed is accurate.
And that's what I was going to say, yeah. And that's, I don't see how, and please feel free to put in the comments, I don't think an AI creatively can match the nuances of a real author, of a book, of artwork, of music. You can't have the pathos or the experience, because it doesn't have any to draw on. Yeah, it's one thing to draw on, this book or that book, but if you don't feel it.
Well, also, it doesn't understand what makes it work.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like it's imitative. It can follow a formula, but honestly, part of why we're seeing so much bad fiction or bad writing coming out there isn't simply because of AI. It's also because people don't know how to write well. And
well, I think also people don't know how to relate anymore.
Right. So you have, if you have that, and okay, so you're having more of this going out into ether. AI is pulling from this crap. Mm-hmm. So that's being into the AI books as well. AI doesn't have the ability. It's not human. Yeah. It's going to be pulling that in. So it's just this, and almost it's like this it can have the risk of becoming this loop where you have people who are writing poor quality stuff. AI picks up on that and feeds out more poor quality stuff with less heart because it doesn't understand where everything comes from. And then so you have this cycle where people they intake that, and because they aren't taking in the classics or taking in things with actual value to them, you're having this cycle of worsening and worsening and worsening.
You're not going to have any classics. I think what AI is going to do, if it continues, it's going to redefine the term classic to being what sells the most instead of what's best written. And
I don't think it can possibly redefine classic simply because none of this stuff is going to have any staying power.
And that's true as well. But that's why I'm saying it will be...
I don't think, because something that's classic is something that has staying power. No one is going to claim that even some of the stuff that's not AI written, that's being popped out there, is classic, because honestly, it's going to be forgotten in a year, 2 years.
Call me a little bit jaded, but I do think that they're just going to redefine it so it fits whatever they want it to be.
It might be that they will try to redefine it during the period of time it's out, but no one will believe them, because in 10 years from now, that thing's going to be forgotten.
10 years from now, people who know about the classics won't be here, a lot of them. I mean, you're one of the younger ones, okay?
I'm actually not. I see hope in there's some young people, like, think of the, I can't remember his channel, the young man always wears a hat, he's a huge Tolkien fan. The kid, like, yeah. So 14,
he's a homeschooler.
15, but that's where you're going to get, there are these kids out there. You have people like Andrew, who is cool. I want to say he's at like 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me.
He's pretty young.
He's pretty young.
Yeah,
so you have...
He's probably going to be offended.
Okay, guys, I'm almost 40. So...
He's young.
People tend to think I'm younger than I am, but I'm not. I'm almost 40. So I'm only,
You're 38.
That's almost 40, Mom.
You're 38.
I'm old.
You're old. I'm going backwards. I'm meeting her.
So the point is, when I'm seeing people 15 years, 20 years younger than me who are reading the classics, there's hope there. And they're going to bring it in with their kids.
Yeah, but they're going to have to fight the AI, and that's going to be the difficulty, unless it kind of, peters out on its own. I think AI is very dangerous. I don't think it fosters any real positive, and I'm sure there are good uses for it, but I just don't think that there are really good uses in the creativity, in the creative world, except, like I said, for me, I can't draw, making a thumbnail or making a tin cover for my tea.
And I just think as well that besides in the creative world, we already have problems with critical thinking
And reality.
and reality. So when people, and there's been people who plagiarized forever. There's people that's not a new thing. But when it's something that's made so easy, and you can write something that seems completely original because, oh, okay, let me have it write a slightly different way. Let me try a slightly different style. And so your creativity is just in how to make something else work it better for you.
Well, I think also, and this, because it's so easy, it erodes the work ethic.
And that's the other thing.
It erodes the work ethic. So they think people who, anyone who uses AI consistently can fall into the trap of thinking everything is easy. And everything's not meant to be easy. We have to have a work ethic, so we learn to do things and we grow. And so when we do fail at something, we don't fall apart.
Well, also, can you really take pride in something that you truly didn't create? Part of
People do.
But
it's foreign to me. But people
yeah,
do.
it's like there's the pride of creating something and seeing it grow. There's also the watching something fail and learning from it and becoming better by it. But if you're having something else do the work for you,
how do you even claim that?
Yeah, and I am concerned about the erosion of critical thinking. We already have that problem. Well, as evidenced by the fact that there are people who will they see an AI book out there and they won't even question, where did this come from? What are the sources? Or they'll see an AI video and they'll assume it's real. And they won't even think to double check it if it's they don't have the ability or the.
Until recently, if I saw something on a video, I wouldn't have thought to double check it, because video, right? You see it, it's there. And that scares the heck out of me, to be able to put somebody somewhere with AI. Okay? That's just it. I think that you have to be very careful with AI. I think that we rely way too much on it in the arts way and in other areas as well. And I think we should tread with caution with it, and especially not especially, but yes, especially with creativity and things like that. We need to know what is real and what was not just kind of thrown together because you put in a bunch of prompts.
Well, part of the thing about creativity, about all that, it's not just that which is being created, it's a connection with the person who created the thing. If I touch an old book, I know that I have a connection with a person from the past who put some effort into said book. It's not just something spit out by a computer. If I'm looking at a book by Oscar Wilde, I know Oscar Wilde poured his heart and soul into writing it. Or maybe it's an author who didn't pour their heart and soul into writing it, but there was some person behind this thing. I am, in essence, touching something that person, whether they touched it with their hands or not, you're touching the past. You're touching a different time period. It's a connection with another person. If it's an AI, what are you connecting with?
Well, there's no context. To get the full feel of things, even a fantasy, even something like that, a full feel of things, you have to know that the person is involved. You can look at their little blurb on the back and see what their influences were and things like that, and get an idea of what formed the information they're writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
Well, and even if you don't, even if you never see the picture of the author in the back, if you never see a blurb, there's an essence of something. When an AI pulls something together, it's not going to pull from any one person's experience and worldview. You aren't going to necessarily have the same way the themes are going to pull together. You might say, I want this kind of theme, but it's not going to have someone's worldview necessarily. It's not going to have someone's worldview because there's no person behind it. There's no one person there. If you read a Tolkien book, you have his worldview as a Catholic, as a lover of mythology, as someone who wanted to build a myth for England. You have all these things building into it. But if you tell AI, write a book, fantasy, Tolkien style, is it going to understand what it is that makes Tolkien Tolkien?
You're not going to get the nuances. You're not
Yeah.
going to get the subtleties. And I think that you lose a lot when you kind of cede the creativity to something other than humanity.
I mean, you can argue that when, I can't remember which video I watched that talked about how Terry Brooks really came in as a publishing house's desire to have an American Tolkien.
But he
still
human.
was while he had very much, especially if you read the first Sword of Shannara book, you can tell very much where his influences of Tolkien were, to the point where it almost could be plagiarism at the first book. Not quite, but it was pretty like
it was a general setup, but
a
lot of them were.
But it was very like it was definitely,
to me, that's more like boy bands than AI.
Yeah, but it has a different feel because it was still,
there's still people involved.
There's still, you could feel someone else's. It still didn't have quite this. It didn't have the same mythos feel of a Tolkien.
No.
The writing style wasn't. It still felt like a different person behind
it
there.
It had to, because Terry Brooks' experiences were different than Tolkien's,
and his language would be different. As a lawyer who then came into things, and he has his own voice, he has his own writing style, versus Tolkien as a philologist, as a professor, as someone who is steeped in academia, but also in he was involved in clubs for speaking not Norwegian, but like Old Norse, and like, so this would build who he was and what his language sounded like, the way he formed things, the fabric of his world, that if you read Brooks, it's not going to cross over because his fabric of his world was different. But with AI, it's not going to necessarily understand what makes Tolkien Tolkien, or what makes Terry Brooks. And so you might have things pulled together, but it's going to feel a little bit jarring because there's no person behind there.
A little bit of a mishmash.
Yeah.
Mishmash.
Because there's no one with their experiences building it up, no one with their specific worldview building it. And that's where the fiction gets hurt. And then, of course, the nonfiction, like I said, you just don't know what's true and what isn't. You don't know what their sources are. You don't know how reliable the sources are. Even if they were to, you just don't know.
I think we've probably exhausted this because we're repeating ourselves.
Yes.
But the fact is that, as you can probably tell, we're not fans of AI. There probably are areas that it can be useful, maybe, but I don't.
I don't even like it for the summaries.
I don't like it for really much of anything. And if I had to do my own artwork, it would be crummy, but I would do it if I couldn't have AI. I'd be not very heartbroken of it.
I've seen it where you have the AI summary from like even something like Google, and I'll click the link that they give to, and like, that's not what that said at all.
Right.
Like, you summarize that as that, but that's not what the thing actually said if you read the source that you provided. And I don't like the AI search engines, which only give you like, there's 5 sources or whatever, how many sources they have, and you can't then go down, because at least if you're using Google and they are like whatever normal browser that you have, and use, or whatever normal search engine that you have, and you scroll down through, you'll get your AI summary, but then you scroll down and you see the different websites, which Perplexity or some of these other
that's
AI and search engines don't allow you to go and then look at all the websites. I want the ability to not only question whether or not and see the link that they provide. If I don't think the link they provided was sufficient, I want to be able to go through and find the websites, even if it's on page 10.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you keep derailing me.
I apologize.
I can't remember what I was going to say. It was.
So we talked about Perplexity, we talked about search engine, we talked about the summaries, the ability to see what their source was, the source not always being correct when you actually click the link.
It's gone. I don't know where it went. Probably. Okay, I think I got it. Most of you know that I'm a big proponent of warnings on books. If you are going to have AI books, I think that AI books need to be labeled as such, and they need to be put in their own section. So you can, not because they're bad in terms of content, and not because I want to limit. Although I wonder about free speech of AI. That's another.
It
kettle of
can't.
fish.
How is it even free
How is that even
speech?
free
Because
speech?
what, the AI has human rights now? Is this
it's ridiculous. All I'm saying is I want to know, and I don't want to have to go wondering. I want to know if this is put out by AI, because I may want to give the author the money, but I don't necessarily want to give out the AI person money because I don't think they work for it. Not to the extent that the
No,
author did.
absolutely not. So yeah, there's so many things that, and then I mean, NaNoWriMo got taken down by AI, and it
I was so sad about that.
And it was their own fault, to be quite honest with you, because they were going to accept AI writing as being something that would work, that would be allowed for NaNoWriMo. And when people are like, hey, that's not cool, that whole point is to be able to write something, what was it, 50,000 words. I did it 1 year. I did 1 year.
I did 2 or 3. I did 2 years and I didn't finish the third.
But to write 50,000 words in a month, but if you have an AI doing it, you could
do double that.
Right. And so people rightfully weren't happy about it. And they were especially not happy with NaNoWriMo's excuse of, well, some people with disabilities can... It's like, seriously? This is not...
That's not the way to take it.
That's not... And not only is it insulting to people with disabilities, but also it's like, okay, I'm sorry, this is a writing challenge. It's not meeting the challenge if you have a machine do it for you.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing we're not going to get into because we could really get started on that kind of stuff. So I think we're going to go ahead and close this now in case Ty, you don't have anything else. Okay. We thank you for joining us here for our Meanderings. And we hope to see you next time we record. I will tag a few people I think might be interested in the description box below the video. I will try to remember to put the links for the podcast.
And the next recording will be be Andrew's tag that he did for us.
And Andrew says you should be reading more books or something.
I'm pretty sure that's his.
Yeah.
And that will be sometime next week.
Yeah. Okay. So we thank you for joining us, and we wish you a very wonderful, blessed weekend. God bless, and have a great evening.
God bless. I guess I never explained the hat. This is Halloween, so
I took my hat off, so I didn't feel like wearing it. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.